reported I-40. And we have multiple vortexes on the opposite side of the river from us. Tornado emergency for the city of Bologna. Tornado emergency for Bologna. More details momentarily.
The very latest on this, and it's one of those things that there is no good timing for something like this to happen. Certainly not around 5 o'clock. Rush hour down there is busy as it is.
Yeah, Bob, you said that best. I got good news for you and I got bad news. The good news is the water has stopped. The bad news is this intersection could be locked up, stopped, if you will, until about midnight tonight. Let's take a look at some of that video from earlier today. Again, it did start about 3 o'clock. What we know now is about 19 customers have lost water as a part of Central Arkansas Water. Here's what happened. A construction company was boring underneath the road, basically trying to get from one side of the road to the other. When that company hit a water main, it's a 12-inch main, causing that main to burst, sending all of this water you're seeing out onto the street. Coming back here now, you can see what crews are having to do. That's a giant hole there, Bob. That is a 20 by 20, about 7 to 8 foot deep hole. What they're having to do is find that concrete pipe. They're having to find 2 different sections of the pipe, and they're putting an iron pipe in between to fix it. You can't fix concrete pipes anymore. It's an older technology, if you will.
This evening, it is without a doubt extremely soggy all over the place.
Yeah, it definitely is, Bob. But you know what? I don't need one of these, so I guess that's a start anyway. I'll just toss that aside over there. And in most of the areas, you're going to see the water cleared or receding a great deal. But with more rain in the forecast, what happens to those areas notorious for flooding? Take a look.
Near the Round Top filling station in Sherwood, the predictable flooding didn't disappoint. Driving through the high water seemed to be common, as we saw car after car buzzing by.
We got 3 1/8 inches just since last night.
In Jacksonville, Bobby White stands outside his home talking about the weather.
It's been a wet year so far.
He lives on Graham Road, right across from the new Arkansas Game and Fish shooting range.
See, that looks like a little lake right there, but it's not.
But White says building the ground up for the range, in essence making the land higher, also helped control severe flooding issues common on this road.
But if it hadn't been for that water would be a lot worse than what it is.
I don't like it.
Another area hit with high water, Dupree Park in Jacksonville. People living in the area say it's improved, though, since city crews built up the lake and worked on drainage issues.
Normally, it would be flooded. Nobody would be able to get through here. Half the time, the freeway used to flood over it.
So the water may be high, but folks we talked to aren't too concerned about being washed out.
Brittany, well, first of all, we are over here on a private road that is about 150 to 200 yards away from the trains. We're also on the other side of where the wreck happened, so you can get a better view of exactly what is left. Over here, I'm seeing about 1, 2, 3, 4, about 5 completely wrecked carts over here on the train tracks. Now, you can't see behind all of these trees, but on that other side, there's also more mangled damage as well. Also, there are investigators over there who are looking into exactly what caused these trains to crash over here in Hoxie.
It was her daughter's graduation.
Doris Reeves holds on to the photo and fond memory from the last time she saw her younger sister, Karen.
She just loved people. She loved life.
3 weeks later, in June of 2001, police arrested this man, Joseph Kennedy, for her murder.
He didn't have to stab her 14 times. He didn't have to tie her behind a car. He didn't have to beat her face off.
Once Kennedy pleaded guilty, Reeves followed his status through the Department of Corrections website, but was shocked when she stumbled upon his other profile on Facebook.
The tattoo across the neck, because it's really wide, and the white T-shirt, and it just like it clicked. It just makes me so angry. I mean, they should not be, something needs to be done. It needs to be monitored more.
We asked department officials how a convicted murderer could update a Facebook profile with photos wearing his state-issued uniform inside prison.
We are still investigating what happened in this case. Obviously, the inmate was able to get a hold of some type of electronic device and start a Facebook page.
Inmates are banned from using cell phones. Still, officers confiscate roughly 300 each year. So many in 2013, ADC donated 1,000 to a program for soldiers.
We do routine sweeps of our prisons, and we turn up all types of electronic devices.
While officials battle contraband, Reeves is fighting to honor her sister's memory and protect other families from the same shock on social media.
It would mean everything to me just to get it down.
R.B. McGrath finds inspiration in painting in an atmosphere similar to artists like Leonardo da Vinci.
All they had was candlelight. They didn't have electricity.
She's been painting for decades and sells prints through an online company. When this piece didn't do well, McGrath wanted to know why.
When I discovered that this company was selling them all over the world.
That was probably a shock.
It was a shocker. Yeah, I literally pushed the chair back from the computer like that.
McGrath says it's difficult to file piracy lawsuits in China because it's basically allowed there.
If you could maybe give something to someone else, I think that's very important.
Filmmaker Keith Hudson heard her story and wanted to help. He's been filming a documentary with McGrath since this winter.
The title of our film is Digital Perugias, and that is sort of a play on Perugia, who stole the Mona Lisa.
Hudson wants to raise awareness and encourage folks to support local artists.
I think that'll help people gain a larger appreciation for the people who work really hard for what they do.
While McGrath doesn't expect to ever receive a dime from the pirated print,
they're ruining the livelihood of American artists who are struggling to make a living.
She's hopeful people will hear her story and choose their artwork more wisely.
All of a sudden she said, "There's a bleeping snake."
Carrie Ramos flipped out, nearly lost her mind when she saw a snake on her front porch.
Picked it up behind the head and then picked up its tail and stretched it out. And he said 4.5, 5 feet.
Carrie and her daughter were carrying items in and out of their Hillcrest home. She didn't even notice the snake at first.
I walked in and out 4 or 5 times.
I mean, I always hear about it and you're like, oh, that's 1 in a million. It'll never happen, but it did.
She says about a week ago, the city came in and cleared out debris here around the corner from her house in preparation for winter, and they think that's where the python came out of and slithered its way through the woods and up this hill into the neighborhood and onto her front porch.
Carrie and Tatum say animal control believes the snake, possibly a python, was someone's pet. They say animal control suspected the snake was cold and looking for warm shelter.
Fun to be around. Loved his boys more than anything in the world.
Friends describe Chance Gober as a father, an avid duck hunter, and a loyal, generous friend.
Chance was the kind of guy who he would give you the shirt off his back. That's just how he was.
These 3 men knew Gober for more than 10 years. Andy Johnson and Chad Ursery said just having his presence made work fun.
It'll be a loss because he was the kind of guy that he spoke to everyone.
Seeing yesterday's aftermath of a train crash that killed Gober and another man and critically injured 2 others was tough.
The first thing you say is, why him? Why has it got to be somebody a friend or, a family member? It makes your stomach turn just because it could happen to anybody. Just kind of a sickening feeling.
They said Gober and his partner were traveling south from Dexter, Missouri to Little Rock when they collided with a train traveling north. They say an average crew drives 12 hours nonstop during a shift. Both know the Little Rock-Dexter route, which they call one of the busiest train routes in the country, running 7 days a week, which for them means a dangerous route every time they get behind the wheel.
You just don't ever know when you go to work at the railroad. It's just part of your job. It's just a dangerous job.